Yemoja is the Yoruba goddess of rivers, and she's an easy to explain but incredibly difficult to pilot support in Smite 2. Yemoja was not added to Smite 2 due to her popularity with lower level players or her general accessibility. None of those things. She was added exclusively for high level play, as those are the really only players who pick her. Her passive is Omi. Her mana bar is instead replaced with an Omi bar, which she uses to cast abilities. Uniquely, Yemoja's abilities have no cooldown, which means the only limiter on her ability to cast is her lack of resources. You start with 7 Omi and eventually get 10 by the end of the game, and cooldown reduction increases your Omi regeneration, which makes Chronos Pendant, Prophetic Cloak, and other powerful CD items very useful on her. Finally, her water-based attacks and abilities that hit allies give them a small heal over time. Her first ability is Bouncing Bubble or Moonstrike, depending on which form it's in. Each time you cast this ability, it switches which ability is used next. Bouncing Bubble fires, well, a bouncing bubble, which slows and damages enemies hit. It bounces twice, then finally splits into a bunch of small bubbles. Her other one is Moonstrike, which is a water column that collapses in on itself, damaging enemies along the way and stunning in the center. Bouncing Bubble will set up a Moonstrike, so the ability feeds into itself. Slow, then stun, and so on. The ability also ends up doing a ton of damage as well, making Yemoja feel much more impactful than some other supports when it comes to killing enemies. Her 2 is Mending Waters. She fires a straight line projectile that deals damage to enemies and stops on allies, healing and shielding them, and if you've hit an ally, it bounces from ally to ally, healing and shielding all of them, including yourself. Additionally, Mending Waters deals increased damage to enemy shields, up to 3 times the damage at max rank. This lets her help counter certain gods like Odin, shredding their shields quickly to pave the way for allies to deal more meaningful damage. 3 is Riptide. She creates a water ring at a location in front of her that pulls anyone entering it and launching them either forward or backward. If you cast Riptide at max range, it will pull people backward, and if you cast it at any other part of the ability, it will launch them forward. This ability is extremely skill testing, and it's extremely difficult to know when and how to use it. Most of the time, casting this ability actively hurts your teammates, and most of the time, it's not a good idea to use it in a team fight. That being said, sometimes you can save people or block off exits of your ult by using the water ring, so it takes a ton of practice to learn how to effectively use it. River's Rebuke is Yemoja's ultimate. It conjures 2 massive walls of water that block projectiles and movement, and after a moment's delay, they crash down, dealing damage, trembling, and slowing enemies hit. When you use the ult, it immediately restores half your missing Omi, and you get a buff that increases your Omi regen. But the buff duration is lowered based on how much your Omi was restored when you first cast your ultimate. This ability is extremely powerful, functioning like an Odin ult with significantly more limited movement, and it allows you to instantly begin casting more abilities. Overall, it's your biggest playmaker, and that's Yemoja. I wish I could say more about the character, but I'm fairly bad at her too. I've only just started my Yemoja journey now that one of her best items, Prophetic Cloak, finally has CD on it after the most recent update. I suggest you get grinding and do your best. Thanks for watching.